Okay, so we're on to settings. iPhone, iPad settings. That's what we're going to be covering today. Um, I see, rather, I would say the iPhone settings or iPad settings are kind of like the heart of the iPhone or the iPad. You get to detect what your phone does with these settings. So we're going to start off with the Apple ID, which is the top part, the very first part of the settings. Right here, you can see my name and you can see my photo. I would like to point out that these settings, they might slightly look different on the iPad or the iPhone, depending on what device you're using, but generally they should be the same. So going into the Apple ID, this section generally takes in info from your Apple ID. Here you have your, rather, it could be your iCloud account or just your email address. As you can see with mine here, it's got my name at yahoo.com. For privacy reasons, I'm not going to open up the first part here, which is name, phone numbers, and email. But yeah, it just has my contact details there, and options to change them or edit them if I need to. The same with password and security. I can change my password, and I can also enable two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication means whenever I'm signing into a new device, a PIN or an authentication will be sent to either my laptop or my email address to authenticate and say, yes, I am the one that's trying to sign up to a new device. Payments and shipping here on next. Here it just shows you your payment details and your shipping address. I don't have any here because I'm trying to stop or limit how much I spend on apps. So I just decided not to put any payment info here. So it shows none. Subscriptions here. If I have any subscriptions, maybe with Hulu, Netflix, Apple Music, they would all kind of show up. iCloud as well. If I open it, it shows me the amount of storage I have left. Just on the top right corner, it shows the amount of storage I have left and the amount of storage I have used on my iCloud account. Here too, I can also allow certain apps to use iCloud to store backups. For example, photos also. I decided to turn mine off, so my photos don't get clogged up in my iCloud account. iTunes and App Store. This part shows you, generally focuses on automatic downloads. I'm going to come back to this later on. So I'm just going to go back briefly. I would like to focus more on Find My right here. This is quite important, or rather very important feature. If you don't have it turned on, this feature helps you find your iPhone if it gets stolen or if you lose it. So by enabling this feature, if your phone is stolen or if it's lost, all you have to do is go on the browser from laptop or someone else's phone, sign on to your iCloud account, and you'll be able to find your location of your iPhone. And just at the bottom here, you can see some of my other devices that are paired to the same Apple ID, which is just my MacBook Pro. Moving on to settings, we're going to start off with airplane mode, which is right here at the top. I would say this mode comes in handy if you might be having some network connectivity issues. Let's say you're having problems with your connection, and you just want to kind of restart it in a way. I think this helps, but generally this mode, airplane mode, comes in handy when you're traveling. You turn it on and then it shuts off all network coming in and going out. Your Wi-Fi settings going in at the top here, I can toggle it on or off. I'm not going to toggle that on off now because it might interrupt my connectivity, but it shows the Wi-Fi network I'm connected to. An important tip I would say here is right next to the Wi-Fi um, connection or network I'm connected to, there's the I button. If I tap on that, it shows me more details of the Wi-Fi network I'm connected to. I can either decide to delete it or rather get off this network by clicking or touching the forget this network. Um, or I can do other complex settings which have to do with networking, but I would say you don't really need to get concerned about these settings at the bottom. What you should be concerned about is the first two, which are forget this network and auto join. Auto join comes in handy if, or rather, it should always be toggled on, just so your connection, you're always connected to the network. For example, you turn off your phone, um, it might not work properly if you turn on your iPhone. It will always prompt you to connect again. But if you have auto join on, you know that when your phone comes on, it's going to get connected to this Wi-Fi network. Yeah, that's what you can do here. Going over to Bluetooth settings, it shows you the devices you're connected to over Bluetooth. You can also do the same here. If I toggle on or tap the I button next to any of these devices, I can either delete it or do other, make other settings. For example, car multimedia at the top. If I toggle that, I can also change other settings, like my phone favorites and all of that. But this is more complex. I don't think you need to worry too much about this. Moving on to cellular, you get to see settings on your mobile connectivity, your network provider. So you can either decide to toggle it on or off, just at the top here, cellular data. You can also enable roaming if you're traveling somewhere else and you want your network to roam. At bottom here, cellular data. This part allows you to turn off certain applications if you don't want, for example, you don't want WhatsApp to access the internet using your mobile connectivity. You can turn this off and you can turn it on. And the list just goes on all the way to the bottom. Personal hotspot. Personal hotspot means you can share your internet connectivity with someone else, or you can share it with one of your devices. You can also allow us to join automatically. You can also change your password right here to anything you want. Now I'm just going to run over through with the notification settings right here. The first part of it, show previews. This basically allows you to see your notifications from your notification pane when your phone is either rather when your phone is unlocked. You can change the setting to always have your notifications displayed, or you can change the setting to never if you don't want any of the notifications to show up. Moving on to sound and haptics, you can basically toggle your sound setting. For example, at the top, I can change the volume settings here by toggling this left and right. I can also change the ringtones for certain notifications, like calendar alerts, airdrop, sending in a folder or a file using airdrop, and also new voicemail, for example. So this just allows me to change my ringtones to choose whatever I want, with whatever sound I want. You also have some haptic settings here. The haptic feedback, it's a technology that Apple devised, or rather set up from its 3D touch. It's actually not a It's actually just a screen, or rather, there's no button there, but it just, what it does is it replicates the feeling of touch to give you feedback when you make an action. Now moving on to do not disturb. I had to activate this for this meeting, but I don't know why I still got calls coming in. I think that's because it doesn't work with WhatsApp, I think. But I think it only stops normal phone calls from coming in. So here you have your do not disturb settings. You can also schedule them. You can have them from any time you want. And you can also turn it off. It does this automatically for you based on what you put in here in the settings. Now I'm going to go into a very key part of the settings, which is the general settings here. I'm going to focus on just a few of them. iPhone storage will be the first. Here it shows me, just hold on for a minute. Okay, it shows me the amount of memory I have used right at the top and how much I have left. Here I can see what sort of memory, or rather storage, my apps are using. For example, photos takes up 33.23 gigabytes. That's a lot. But yeah, I have a lot of photos, and that's why. Background app refresh. So with this setting, it allows you to toggle what apps you want to run automatically in the background. I personally turn this off because it helps with my battery optimization. It reduces the amount of battery the phone uses. If you have this turned on, it means some apps or applications rather would be automatically gathering information and updating themselves when you're not using them. I personally turn this off just to help you save some battery. Going on to dates and time, you can change it here. You can also choose your 24-hour time here right at the top if you want. And you can turn it off too. You can also set it to automatically change your time zone whenever you move to a different time zone. I'm going on to keyboard. You can also install keyboards here. I've got the swipe keyboard, but generally you'd be using the QWERTY keyboard and English. You can also change this as well around. Moving on to language and region, you can change your language here to language of your choice. You've got a few languages here, or a number of languages here. So you can choose whatever one you want. You can also change your region, and you can change your temperature unit settings here. Dictionary, I find this handy. The iPhone has a feature called lookup. So if you type a word and you select it, and you type on, rather you tap on lookup, it gives you a quick lookup of that word. So here you can choose the dictionaries you want. You choose them and it gets installed. So for example, I want Arabic to English. I tap on this, it's downloading it here on the right. But I don't speak Arabic, so I don't think I would use it. But I have French here. So this is just what it lets you do. And at the bottom here, we have some reset settings. This come in handy when you want to call it hard reset. You want to change all your settings on your phone. You want to wipe off the content and settings. You want to reset your network settings. Basically, if you're having any problems with your iPhone and you just want a fresh start, you come in here and you can reset all of these. That's all for general. Going next into control center. The control center can be toggled on from, I think you can do this differently based on the device you're using. Generally on the iPhone, I think iPhone 10 and the iPad, what you have to do is go to the top right corner and swipe it down, and it gives you the control center. This is the control center now. I can quickly toggle some settings. I can increase my brightness. I can toggle on the do not disturb, which looks like the moon here on the left. I can also quickly turn on my Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Left, can increase it, I can decrease it. So this just gives you quick access to some of your settings. Off. Yep. You can also customize the sort of controls you want on the control center. I can decide to add alarm, so this would give me the quick access to easily set up an alarm right here. Okay, I don't want you. Going back to settings. So yeah, this is what the control center lets you do. Quick access to some settings you would need on the go. Now we're going to go over to display and brightness. With the new iPhone updates, you can easily toggle between lights, which is a normal settings that we should all be used to, and there's the dark mode. I prefer the dark mode. I think it looks nicer. You can also increase your brightness here, toggle left to right. You can also enable True Tone. With the settings, you always see some brief explanations at the bottom here. Here it says automatically adapt the iPhone display based on the ambient lighting conditions to make colors appear consistent in different environments. So this just it changes it automatically for you. I toggle this off because I think it also affects my battery settings, because it's always using sensors to detect what my ambient lighting is going to be like. So I turn that off. Night shift too is a good feature. You can turn this on. Mine is scheduled. It changes the tone of my screen to a warm color at night. That works better with my eyes. From 10, that's when I start to get sleepy. So it puts me in that mood of being at sleep and reduces the brightness of my screen. You also have some settings here. Auto lock, to auto lock your phone after 30 seconds. You also have raise to wake. I turn this off as well, because it's always keeping the sensors active when I raise my phone off. That's another thing that might be draining my battery. You've also got some settings here. Text size. If you need to see your text in large. So you've got that there.
Oh, your audio cut out for a second there. Could you just go back for a second, Sam? Sorry.
Right, so back to text size. Well, where did it stop?
Yeah, I think just when you went into text size.
All right, so with text size, you can increase the size of your text if you need to, or rather if you need it. So you can just toggle it all the way to the right there, and you have the largest size here available. And here, back to there. You could also have bold text. I toggle that off and it changes my text back to the normal setting, and then bold there. Going to move next into accessibility settings right here. Under this setting, I'm going to focus on zoom, magnifier setting. Zoom allows you literally zoom into certain parts of your screen. So if I toggle this on, just beneath the zoom setting, you can see some explanations here. It says zoom magnifies the entire screen. Okay, it just did that. You can toggle it off. Oops, okay. There was a lag there. So here it says I'm double tap with 3 fingers to zoom. So if I turn that on, there's a lag there, but that lets you zoom into certain aspects of your screen. So you can toggle that on and off. You can also change certain settings to choose and fit in what you want. You can also increase the level times zoom, or 14 as high as a 15 times zoom. So right, I'm just not going to mess up with this zoom settings then, so it doesn't disturb the call again. But this is just what you could do with zoom settings. You could toggle it on and off to allow you zoom into certain areas of your screen, and you can also maximize the level of zoom. You can increase it to 15 times to make sure, or rather if you need it, to maximize or focus on a certain area you want it to focus on if you need to see clearly. So that's what that feature is for. Magnifier as well. I'm skeptical about turning this on to demonstrate it so it doesn't interrupt the call or the demonstration. But if we read what this does beneath it, it says the magnifier lets you use your device's camera to quickly magnify your surroundings. When enabled, triple click the side button to start magnifier. So this uses your camera to magnify certain aspects of what you can see from your phone camera.
So for example, like a menu, if you want to use your phone to look at a menu that has small print, you can use that setting to be able to magnify anything in front of you so that you can better read something like that.
Yeah, thank you. Now with display and text size, I've kind of gone over that already, but this just gives you more settings and more control over it. Right at the top, you can make your text bold, you can turn it off. You can also enable large text. You can also enable button shapes. So that just it really emphasizes on buttons, like right at the bottom top left, sorry, you can see it's highlighted the settings with an underlining on it. So I'm going to turn that off, and you can also adjust certain settings here. I'm not going to go into that; they're a bit complex. I don't think you would really need any of that, but if you want to play around with it, you've got some settings here. You can also enable auto brightness, but here it also has a warning. Turning off auto brightness may affect battery life and long-term display performance. So, in my opinion, I have turned that off. Once again, I think it always it keeps your sensor always checking your ambient lighting to adjust your brightness settings. So I always turn that off, and I rather manually control my brightness setting based on what I want it to be like. So moving on to wallpaper. Here you can choose the sort of wallpaper you want. For me, I chose a picture of my nieces and my nephew right there. But if you want to change your wallpaper, just right at the top, choose a new wallpaper. You choose that, and you select that, and you can choose different wallpapers. You've got some custom wallpapers here from Apple at the top. So moving on to Siri settings.
So in Siri, Siri is iPhone, like Apple's voice command app. So you can use Siri, I'm sure you've heard, to do basic commands on your phone, like send a text message or an email. This section basically just allows you to change those settings. You can turn on or off Hey Siri, which is basically the voice command initiation. So if you don't have that turned on, you'll have to manually like use a button to turn on Siri if you don't have it on. But if you have it on, all you have to do is say Hey Siri to activate Siri on your phone. You also see that it says press top button for Siri, so that's how you would activate it manually without your voice. And down here, basically, you can just change the language that Siri uses. You can change the voice. You can give Siri a British accent or any sort of accent. It can be a male or female voice. And then in here also, you're able to change the settings about which apps Siri has access to. So Siri can do certain things in certain apps based on what you give access to. So if you were to click onto one of these apps, you would see what permissions Siri has in these. So it can learn from this app or use voice commands. So that's basically the Siri and search area. So if anything to do with that function, you would go here to fix it. We're going to skip Apple Pencil. I guess that's if you have a stylus, I'd assume. And we'll jump to Face ID and passcode. We won't jump too much in this unless you can put it in. Okay, it's private. Great. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything private in here?
I don't think so. No.
Right.
It just says share. And if
Okay,
it is,
cool.
yeah. No, yeah, it just would be the putting it in. So this is where you can change all your login settings for your iPad. So you can see that you have Face ID. If you don't have a newer one, if you have still the home button, then you have finger ID that you can log in with. So it's the same deal. And you'll see at the very top here, it says use Face ID for, or else it might say use fingerprint for. And you can basically control what you're able to use that for. So say you have, to unlock your iPad, you can use it to make purchases within the iTunes and App Store. You can turn that on or off if you want to be able to use that for it, as well as Apple Pay. Say you have a credit card saved in your wallet. In order to access those, you might need a passcode, or in this case, you can use your Face ID or fingerprint, as well as a password autofill. So if you do have passwords saved on your device, you're able to access them by using that Face ID. This is also where you can reset your Face ID. So if you've maybe gotten an old phone from someone else and it has it and you want to reset it, you can do that there. And it's basically all those controls. And you can also turn off or on your passcode from here and change your passcode. So if you'll just click that button, you'd be able to type in your current passcode and then a new one to create a new one if ever it needs switched. Down a bit further, you see this area that says allow access when locked. This just means basically you can access any of these functions or applications when you're locked. So Control Center is that thing you bring down where you can access your camera and certain other small capabilities on your phone. And you can turn those on or off to decide what's able to be accessed by someone who's not logged in with a passcode. You might want those for easy access, but you might want to turn them off if you're super concerned about security, people getting in there. Next, we'll go to battery. So this is a great area just to understand how much battery each of your apps is taking up. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see the percentage of battery each application is using. So right here we have Procreate is using the most battery, followed by Docs and Chrome. And you're able to see some of your screen time, so 2.2 hours and 58 minutes on in a day, I guess, and use with the 3 minutes with the screen off. If you go up a bit, I think there's a section, insights, and maybe go into insights and suggestions, high brightness maybe. Well, in some settings, I guess it's not on here, but on mine, there's the ability to turn on something called, check what it's called. Let's see it on there.
Oh, like the screen limits or something?
Or it's called, there might be a button on some of your phone sites that says battery health. And here you can see your phone's maximum battery capacity. And there should be an option to turn on optimized battery charging, which basically allows your device to understand your charging habit. So how long you leave your phone plugged in when you start charging it generally. So say you plug your phone in every night before bed. It will understand kind of how long you generally keep it plugged in, and it will wait to finish charging the last 20% until it thinks it can do it in the right amount of time until you unplug it, because overcharging your battery can lead to a quicker death of the battery. So you want to make sure that when you're charging your battery, for the most part, once it gets to 100%, you unplug it, because if it overcharged, that can damage your battery life.
Just looked it up, by the way. It is just on the iPhone that you can check that. They haven't brought it over to the iPad yet.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's just on the iPhone. Next, we'll jump into privacy. Great. So yeah, here you can control any of the privacy aspects of any of the functions on your phone. So here we have like location service, contacts, calendar, and a bunch of different stuff. Basically, what you can do in here, say click into photos, Julia. If you click into one of these options, you'll be able to see what apps on your phone have permission to access these features. So Julia has given Chrome read and write capabilities and Zoom read and write capabilities for her photos. That means when she's on one of these, she can access her photos from it. If you click into one of them, you're able to turn those capabilities off to never. Some might say only when on app. I think that's more so when you're in location services, but you can go through all of these and you can see what apps you have given access to on any of these functions. So again, there's location service and photos, camera, microphone. You'll be able to go in and turn them all on and off. Especially with something like location services, you'll see that it's like there's the option of never, when I'm in the app, always. This can also change, depending on your cellular settings. If it's always on, it means, especially for locations, it means it's always using that cellular to track your location. That can eat up some data, so I'd be aware of that as well. But basically, this is just, you can go into all the settings. It's a great area if you're looking to amp up your privacy. If we can go back a bit, Julia, back to the main privacy. And we also have analytics and improvements. If you go in here, you can choose whether Apple can share your iPad or iPhone analytics with them and analytics data. You can just turn that off if you want. That's just how and iCloud analytics as well. That's just how your applications are working. If they're being successful, they'll use that to improve on their current systems. But you don't have to have that on if you want. And if you go back again, there's another area. It's advertising, and this is where you can limit ad tracking on that. So I would turn limit ad tracking on. That limits the amount of data that I guess that can be shared and used to provide ads to you based on apps and stuff like that. And that's where you would do that and change those settings. Next, we'll jump into iTunes and App Store. Again, so here you're able to see your Apple ID, and you're able to see what of these, like App Store's music, books, audiobooks, do automatic downloads. You can turn those on or off, and that just means that they can automatically update any of your apps or books or whatever you have saved whenever they want. If you turn them off, you have to do that manually. So again, it's just a preference thing. You'll also be able to, in your cellular, I think, options choose whether this is done on cellular or whether you need to do it on Wi-Fi. But that might just be on the phone. It might be in here.
Yeah,
maybe
or
because,
if your iPad has cellular capabilities.
Yeah, it's not in here because there's not cellular capabilities. But if you do have cellular capabilities, you're able to turn off automatic updates, so they only update when you're connected to Wi-Fi, and that should save some cellular data as well. There's also the option to turn on offload unused apps. That just means apps you haven't used in a long time will be removed from your device so that you don't have to automatically do them. But that's just, again, a preference thing. Next, I won't jump into Wallet and Apple Pay because I'm assuming you have stuff in there. But that is where you would manage all your cards that you have saved on your wallet. You can go in there to add or delete Apple Pay options. But again, we won't go in there. But that is where, if you're ever looking to change something about a card, add it or delete it, or change settings about how you access Apple Pay and Wallet, those will be located in there. Again, passwords, passwords and accounts you can jump into. There won't be anything in there. So this is where you'll manage all your passwords and accounts that are saved to your device. If you were to, we won't click on, you have nothing basically saved there anyway, website and app passwords. This would show any saved passwords and logins you have on your device. You can go in there and you can delete them if you want. You can also turn on or off autofill passwords. That means your phone knows when you're on a site, if it has a saved password, that it can just put that in automatically. You can also control your certain passwords and accounts for your iCloud and Gmail. So if you were to go into Gmail, you could just look at the accounts you have saved in there, and you can change certain things about what they have access to, like contacts and calendars and stuff like that, and notes. And then we won't go into the rest of this, but maybe let's jump into, go to camera. So from here on out, you'll just see a list of all of the applications you have on your phone. Some are native applications, so they're going to have more options within within clicking into them. So camera, for example, you can get into specific, there's so many, so we won't go into all of them, but this is where you'd get into specific preferences for each app. So each app will have different preferences. If they're not native to your phone, so you downloaded from the App Store, they're probably going to be less capabilities to change things. But again, in here, you can change. You can put a grid on your phone, so that means you have like lines when you're taking a photo and stuff like that. In certain other ones, it also allows you to change kind of those sharing capabilities of what they have access to, security things within each app. So in terms of this, you'll see that it's different for each application, and you can go through and play around with those. But we won't go to, because like Julia, we probably all have tons of apps, and they're going to have different settings. But if ever it's just a problem with one app, I would go and check there to see if you can't finick with the settings a bit to fix something. But yeah, that is basically all the settings you have on your iPad and iPhone. Like we said, there's going to be some differences between the two in terms of, and especially if you have an older device versus a newer device with the Face ID versus the fingerprint ID. But they're all there. I know there's like a lot to go through here, but hopefully this made that, you know, you a bit more comfortable with going in and exploring